Alright, here's your next one. It's on the Tremere. I added some bonus details for them, since I figure they could come in handy soon enough. I gotta go quick though. There are cameos on my tail, and I don't want them finding you too. See you later. The Tremere are a clan of warlocks, best known for their thaumaturgy. Thaumaturgy, or rather blood sorcery as it is now known, is a difficult discipline that requires a teacher to learn, but houses numerous benefits, such as increasing the severity of a kindred's bane, or manipulating the properties of someone, or even your own blood. Other disciplines available to this clan include Auspex, which can go as far as allowing views into someone's mind, and Dominate, which can force others into doing your bidding. However, those two disciplines are much more common amongst other clans. Diving into the history of the Tremere lands you in the year 767, wherein the House Tremere is founded as a part of the mage group, the Order of Hermes. Slightly later down the line, nearing the end of the first millennium, House Tremere find themselves falling apart alongside the Hermetic arts, and after undergoing numerous experiments in attempt to stay afloat, an individual known as Goratrix suggests vampirism, and, after a ritual, the members of the house had become immortal vampires. This, however, had the unforeseen consequence of the loss of their magical abilities. After this, the Tzimisce declared war on House Tremere for Goratrix's experimentation on fiends, and the Order of Hermes became suspicious of the secret practices of the house and attempted to investigate. Pressed for time, Tremere gathered those turned by Goratrix's ritual and forced a blood bond upon them, establishing the pyramid hierarchy, with himself at the top, and these 7 right below as the Inner Council of 7. Pretentious much? The rest of House Tremere were then either killed or embraced, joining the pyramid. There was, however, one surviving group, who went on to live under the name Maison Liban. Throughout the Dark Ages, the Omen War with the Tzimisce ravaged House Tremere, and they were stuck on the back foot due to their lack of familiarity with blood and loss of access to the Hermetic arts, despite numerous attempts to convert them into thaumaturgy. While this was happening, Goratrix returned to his laboratory alongside his disciples in order to experiment upon captured Tzimisce, Nosferatu, and Gangrel, which resulted in the creation of the Gargoyle in 1121, and by 1125, these hybrid creatures were ready for use as shock troopers in the war. Regardless of all of this, the Tremere found themselves as third-class citizens amongst kindred, with some princes even going as far as kicking them out of their cities. Cammy scum. Tremere, however, was undeterred, and after uncovering vampiric lore, settled upon diablerizing the Salubri antediluvian, Sarlot, which immediately led to him entering torpor, a lengthy slumbering state, and the Inner Council were left to lead the clan and stamp out the remaining Salubri. Eventually, the princes recognized the Tremere for their talents in thaumaturgy, and granted them recognition as a low clan, despite the general kindred's public view of them being as usurpers and known diablerists. Taking advantage of this, the clan spread propaganda against the Salubri, portraying them as infernalists and soul stealers, which resulted in the hunting of the clan until near extinction, as many clans were happy to have an excuse to take them down. By 1202, the Order of Hermes discovered what had become of House Tremere, and had them sentenced to death, leading to a wizard's march that began the Masasa War. The Masasa War never officially ended, however, due to a lack of resources on both sides, the war subsided. It did begin anew years later though. When the Renaissance arrived, the Tremere were still hunting the few remaining Salubri, and had made an allegiance with the Hungarian venture against the Tzimisce. Come the 15th century, the Salubri were little more than a myth, and the Tremere were a fully recognized clan. Because of this, however, the Inquisition was especially hard on the thaumaturges, and many cults and chantries were lost. Goratrix used his influence and power to take over the Knights Templar, in order to take important church artifacts and turn its hunters against his enemies. Unfortunately for him, this failed, and the knights were branded as heretics. Following this, Tremere awoke from his torpor to confront Goratrix and stripped him of his authority, leading Goratrix to flee to the east, for he believed his assassination was imminent. The formation of the Camarilla was a huge development for the Tremere's status amongst clans, signaling their growth to stand amongst those such as the Toreador and the Ventru. Tremere were mostly unaffected by the general effects of the Anarch revolt, but Tremere and Tribu were viewed as a large threat to the clan, since they also had access to the clan's thaumaturgy and could spread it amongst the Anarchs. Contributing to their place in the hierarchy was the part they played in the Convention of Thorns, wherein, upon the refusal of the truce by the Assamites, the Tremere laid a thaumaturgical curse upon the clan that prevented diablerie, and, almost mockingly, the convention itself stated that Assamites were free to diablerize those not among the Camarilla. A curse was also placed upon Tremere and Tribu that prevented them from partaking in Voldery without being branded with a mark visible to all true Tremere, whatever that means. It's also rumoured that Tremere himself appeared for these events, having awoken from his torpor specifically for them. Somehow, Goratrix returned in the 18th century, having finally been confirmed to have joined them with the Sabbat, and gathered together a majority of Tremere and Tribu to form House Goratrix. Despite this display of power and mockery against House Tremere, the Tzimicha and the Sabbat ensured that House Goratrix would be unable to rise to power amongst the Sabbat. At this time, the Tremere took advantage of growing technology to spread themselves throughout Europe and North America, however, faced less success when attempting to expand across Africa and Asia. It was during this age that the Tremere capitalized most on humans, as there was a rise in belief in the occult, which the clan easily exploited for Chalder and ghouls. It also allowed the Tremere to be more carefree with their usage of thaumaturgy, whilst also remaining within the lines of the masquerade. In 1998, the Tremere and Tribu seemed to be entirely wiped out by an unknown ritual that took place in a chantry in New Mexico. Any possible survivors most certainly did not attend, and remain in hiding to this day. More problematic than this mystery, however, was the beginning of a gargoyle rights movement, as the Tremere began to lose control over their hybrid servants. This, amongst other symptoms such as the failure to renew the curse placed upon the Assamites, signaled the beginning of a loss over thaumaturgy amongst the Tremere, similar to when they lost control of their hermetic arts. The Second Inquisition conducted a raid on the Vienna chantry that housed Tremere and the Inner Council in 2008, and the council is assumed to have been destroyed, throwing the clan and its strict hierarchy into chaos, splitting into 4 factions: the Camarilla following group led by Karl Schrecht, the resurging House Goratrix, the upstart House Kana, who currently ally with the Camarilla, although that may be subject to change in recent events, and the Anarch group, the Absissimus.